Have you ever wondered what it would be like if you had ALS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's at the same time? Today, I'm going to be talking about Huntington's disease. According to researchers, everyone is born with two sets of Huntington genes ready to make proteins, but only those with a mutated gene will actually develop the disease. Huntington's disease is something that I have been looking into for quite some time now for my own personal intellect as well as my school studies. Today, I'm going to talk to you about what Huntington's disease is, the symptoms of Huntington's disease, and the age group of people that Huntington's disease affects. First, let's learn about what Huntington's disease is. Huntington's disease deteriorates a person's physical and mental ability. According to the article, mutant Huntington does not affect the intrinsic phenotype of human Huntington's disease T lymphocytes, published by PLOS 1 by James Miller et al. on November 10, 2017. Huntington's disease is a fatal autosomal dominant neurodegenerative condition. According to the journal article, Huntington Disease Care from the Past to the Present to the Future, published by Parkinsonism and Related Disorders, written by T.A. Mester and K. Shannon in November of 2017, Huntington's disease is incurable and impacts the body with progressive loss of dependence and disability. Researchers have stated that Huntington's disease is the result of a repeating CAG triplet series on a person's Huntington gene, which is located in chromosome 4. This is something that everyone is born with, but only a select amount of people will actually acquire the disease from their parents. All it takes is one copy of an altered gene in each cell to bring the disease to life. For a second, let's pretend that this circle is a human brain and that this butterfly is the Huntington's disease that has developed inside of the brain. Huntington's disease takes place inside of the basal ganglia, which is located in the middle of the brain, and over time, this area, as shown by the butterfly, will gradually get bigger and bigger until that person no longer has any control over their body. Now that we've learned about what Huntington's disease is, let's now learn about the symptoms of Huntington's disease. The symptoms have been described as having ALS, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's at the same time. Symptoms are as follows: personality changes, mood swings, depression, forgetfulness, impaired judgment, mental involuntary movement, slurred speech, trouble swallowing, and weight loss, all of which start out very minimal but get worse and worse as time goes on, much like this blow-up beach ball. Once someone has been tested for these symptoms to determine whether or not they have Huntington's disease, their average lifespan will vary between 10 and 20 years. According to Natalie Ellis et al., who wrote the article Genetic Risk Underlying Psychiatric and Cognitive Symptoms in Huntington's Disease for the Biological Psychiatry, on May 9, 2020, only those who have experienced symptom testing can be fully and completely diagnosed by a doctor for Huntington's disease. This is due to the fact that in our society, it has been deemed unethical to test children due to the amount of effort and length that go into each test. According to the article, Managing the Symptoms of Huntington's Disease, published by The Prescriber, written by Craig Patrick and Stuart Ritchie on February 2nd, 2020, despite being incurable, the only known treatment for Huntington's disease is to help keep the involuntary movements in check, meaning that the only way in which a doctor can help is by prescribing someone with Huntington's disease a medication that only helps with their involuntary movements and nothing else. Now that we've learned about the symptoms of Huntington's disease, let's now learn about the age group that Huntington's disease affects. The average age group of Huntington's disease affects are the 40 and 50-year-olds. Aside from the average age group that is affected by Huntington's disease, While very rare, according to researchers, there have also been cases in which the youngest someone can develop the disease is during neonatal or infancy, and the oldest that someone is able to develop the disease is in their 70s and 80s. According to the article, Problem-Solving Impulse Control and Blaming in Patients with Early and Late-Stage Huntington's Disease, published by European Archives of Psychiatry and Clinical Neuroscience by Sabrina Morkel et al. On October 7, 2016, a study that was conducted monitored the deterioration of cognitive function in men and women in their 40s, which is just one of the tests that doctors run to ensure that those people either have the disease or not. When looking at this graph, you can see that the average age for someone to contract Huntington's disease is around the age of 40, with 200 cases, and that most anyone before the age of 40 is considered extremely rare, with less than 150 cases, but is still very clearly possible. According to the article, Critical and Genetic Features of Huntington's Disease in Sri Lanka by Tulika Sumanthapalwa et al. On January 1, 2013, the age of diagnosis can range from 15 to 72 years. This goes to show that Huntington's disease can affect anyone at any age, but the reality of the average age of people being diagnosed is in their 40s and 50s. Now that we've learned about the age group that Huntington's disease affects, let's take a look at everything that we have learned today. Today we have learned about what Huntington's disease is, the symptoms of Huntington's disease, and the average age that Huntington's disease affects. My goal for giving you this speech was to hopefully inform you about the effects of Huntington's disease and give you an insight into what you should expect if you ever came into contact with someone with Huntington's disease. I hope that you take this knowledge with you so that you're able to share what you have learned today and that you are able to inform others who may not know anything about this disease. Thank you.